My name is Andy Duch. I'm a captain at the Sheriff's Office. We're going to spend about an hour together today. Normally for this class, I would spend 2.5 hours with you, but Chico Unified is one of those organizations that just cannot put that kind of time aside, and this happens. So this is a 1-hour version of a class that normally takes about 2.5 hours to teach. So there'll be quite a bit of stuff that's truncated and condensed. It'll fly by, believe me. There's still quite a bit of material to share with you. We had a group here already today, about 60 or so folks. We're going to be training about 110 people. I think I've probably done about 7 sessions already for Chico Unified for different groups. I do a lot of this training at Chico State and at Butte College. I do a lot of this training for paramedics and cops, and I've done 16 sessions for the downtown ambassadors and 12 sessions at Taurus and 10 sessions at you name it, they've had it. They've had the class, thousands of people. Started this class about 10 years ago. It used to be called Verbal Judo. When I first learned it from George Thompson, some of you have heard of Verbal Judo. And Verbal Judo is a great class, but it's really designed for cops. And so I taught that a few years, then I realized it had some shortcomings. So over the last decade or so, 12 years, it has morphed into this class that we're going to have today, this is the one we're going to have today. This class is basically about some real simple things, okay? First of all, I try and teach the way that I like to go to school. I've been to plenty of schools in my career, and unfortunately for cops, most of my 40-hour trainings, maybe it's the same too for your profession, I would say, oh wow, this is a 3-day school crammed into 5 days. You know, they have like, for Mondays, half the day is ice breaking, introductions, and all this other stuff, and then Wednesday it gets good. I try not to do that. I also don't do death by PowerPoint. I don't put up PowerPoint slides and read them to you. I believe something very simple. You're not going to remember particularly what I said or what I did after today, but you are going to remember how you felt. And that's a lot of what this class is about, is you get to explore some feelings, even in this short one, this little hour one, of kind of how it feels when it doesn't quite go right, like, oh, that's not very good. And other times, like, oh yeah, that actually feels good. That's what we're going to get out of this. That's how you're going to find your way to kind of figure out, how can I attain that feeling when I'm dealing with a kid, or more importantly, with a parent. I've done lots of training over the years with many groups. CARD's one of the big ones. I do all the training for the after-school program kids. And you think, why the hell would the after-school program kids need training in tactical communications and de-escalation? Don't they just watch kids for 3 hours after school? What's the problem? Well, who picks those kids up? And suppose that you're the 18-year-old Chico State co-ed, and I'm the 45-year-old single mom who's a little rough around the edges. You try and tell me that my kid's a bully. Let's see how that goes. Right? Yeah, that's why they need training on de-escalation. Sometimes it isn't the student that you're having a problem with. It's going to be their parents. Also, you don't always just deal with students. You may have problems. It may be that homeless individual that's coming on campus, and you may just take it upon yourself and say, excuse me, sir, I'm trying to be polite. Could I please ask you to leave campus? You can't be here. And the guy says, why can't I be here? I'm a veteran. I fought for this country. I bled for it. This is America, land of the free, home of the brave. There's no fence here holding me out. Why can't I just walk through the campus if I want? Yeah, what do you say? Yeah, it's like, oh, that's actually a pretty good counter argument. I don't have anything for that. So, yeah, but this class is about that, okay? It's real simple. You have a little handout here. I did most of the work for you because I don't like taking a bunch of useless notes. So the notes we're going to take are the ones just fill in the blanks. So let's get going here because this thing flies by pretty quick. What are our dual TACCOM goals? This class is called TACCOM, or Tactical Communications, De-escalation. I don't care what you call it. It's all the same. What are our dual TACCOM goals today? There's 2 things that we're going to do very specifically. Number 1 is talk about and learn about voluntary compliance, or just compliance. I like calling it voluntary compliance. How do you get somebody to voluntarily do what you're asking when they just told you they're not going to do it? Hey sir, can I please ask you to leave campus? No, I am not leaving campus. Hey, can I have you have a seat in the lobby? Hey, would you press hard 3 copies? No, I'm not signing that. I'm not signing any forms. How do you get people to do what you're asking when they just told you they're not going to? Okay, so voluntary compliance. The second aspect of this class is de-escalation. That's the other 50%, is how do you get somebody to be calmer? Maybe somebody's under the influence of rage. They're mad. They're under the influence of drugs, alcohol, mental illness. Some of my examples I'm going to share with you come from the behavioral health realm, the mental illness realm. As far as cops go, I'm probably about as tied into that as you can be. I was the chair of the behavioral health board over the last year, and I've been on the behavioral health board for 6 years. So I'm very tied in with the homeless community and with the mentally ill community. Why would the jail commander, think of it, why would the jail commander need to be involved with inmates, the homeless, and the mentally ill? Well, sometimes they're the same guy. So, and if I can intercede in the homelessness aspect of it, maybe the guy doesn't come back to jail. If I can get somebody stabilized on their psych meds and get them in their counseling and get them going in the right direction, maybe they keep their home and we don't see them in jail. So there's a reason why we do this. This program, like David mentioned, I looked at my books. Last year, I taught the 2.5-hour class 65 times last year. And already this year, I think this is my 7th or 8th time that I'm teaching it. So it's very, very popular. 99% of my students are not cops or paramedics or nurses. They're folks that work in social service agencies, folks who work at schools, the shelters, you name it, they've had the class, okay? So de-escalation and voluntary compliance. I want you to put like a little V between those two. You kind of connect them. Like these two things are connected. Because here's the overarching theme of this hour. This is the overarching theme. Persuasion. This class is all about persuasion. How do I persuade people? And the way that I'm going to tell you, one of the main tools you have in your tool belt for persuasion is your innate authority. I remember teaching this class many years ago at Behavioral Health, and the lady said, I have a problem with that. I don't really feel like an authority figure. I'm actually the receptionist at Behavioral Health. I work at the front desk. I'm the low man on the totem pole, she said. So I don't already have any authority. I said, so let's define what authority is for you and for her. I asked her, do you represent something greater than yourself? And she says, oh yeah, I represent the Department of Behavioral Health. I represent the consumer community, the clients. I represent the county of Butte. Hell, I have a name tag on. I represent something bigger than me. And then I said, and do you get to decide what happens next? In other words, do I ask your permission for things? And she looked at me kind of funny, and I said, even if I'm a jerk, hey, I want to see Captain Duch, and I want to see him right now. Where is he? Bring him out here. Does she get to decide if Captain Duch is here? Does she get to decide how long I wait to see Captain Duch? Well, let me see if I can find him. He doesn't seem to be in. Once you have a seat in the lobby, we'll be right with you. Yeah. I can prove that I recognize your authority. If I didn't, I would walk right past you and I'd just go inside. Even though I'm being a jerk, I stop and ask you permission, okay? So one of the big things that we talk about, not in this class, in the longer one, is the whole idea of authority and permission and what we need, why we like social order, and how the guy who's telling you, I don't want to follow your rules, is actually deeply driven to follow rules, okay? So just keep that in mind. Authority is a good thing. I want you to embrace it. That is your main tool for persuasion is, I'm recognizing your authority right now. You're my instructor, you're my campus monitor. I don't care if you're the school custodian. You're a grown-up, I'm a kid. I innately recognize that after that. Now you can lose that, you can give it away, but I'm wired to recognize that. So embrace your authority. Okay, so persuasion is the overall theme of this class. Look at number 2 there. It says service providers, they are authority figures. You're authority figure, we just define that. We communicate our authority through our words. We talk to people. Right? So when the angry mom comes up, how many of you have a parent, or this is a dumb question, how many of you have had parents that the kid is never wrong? In fact, you realize that, this kid's kind of got some problems. And I think I know what the problem actually is. He's never been allowed to be accountable. He's never been allowed to skin his knee, for lack of a better word. Every time the kid does something, it's somebody else's fault, somebody else is accountable. According to mom, this kid is the victim of everybody else's incompetence. And then you begin to see, I don't think the kid actually has a problem. He's inheriting one, but I think I see where the problem is. That's a parent that you have to be able to deal with. How do you deal with a parent like that? How do you get through to them? How do you get them to not be angry at you and treat you poorly, right? Okay, we use our words. So in A, it says, so why do our words sometimes fail to garner cooperation? In other words, we say all the right words. Why do our words sometimes fail to garner cooperation? In your notes, because so often your words don't matter. The words you're using don't matter. So often when you're trying to persuade somebody, convince somebody, your words do not matter. You know what does matter? What is pushing those words out? What is pushing those words out? That's actually what matters. Now, what's your name? Jen? And what do you do? What's your?
I work at the district office.
So you, what's your job title? I want to.
Coordinator of student information.
So I'm going to be your boss. You know what, Jen? You are such a great employee. I don't know why Jen is like, well, I don't know why is she upset with me? Didn't I just say all the right words? I told her she's a great employee. What's your name?
Cindy.
Cindy. Why don't you have a nice day?
You don't need that.
Yes. And you know what's funny is that not only do you know I didn't mean that, but the guys running the camera who aren't even in this class, who are a mile away, said, he didn't mean that. Isn't that funny how you're wired to read me and ignore my words? They don't matter at all, right? What's your name, sir? Dan, come on up here, Dan. I just can't jump down here. I'll get some feedback. I want to talk to you, Dan. Right up here on stage, right next to the stage. Dan! Dan! Long time no see. How you doing, Dan? What the hell are you, son of a bitch, you bastard? How you doing? Now, why is he laughing at me? Why are you all laughing? No, because, look, I'm screaming in his face. I hit him twice, and I called him 2 dirty names. I did everything wrong. Why is he not pissed at me? I did everything right with you ladies. Everything wrong with Dan. Everything wrong with Dan. Why? Because he says, well, because, Andy, we're all actually cavemen, you see, and cave women. And we're wired to read past things to pick up on threats. So when you were hitting me and calling me names and yelling at me, what I got from you is, well, that's just old Uncle Andy. He's just embarrassed about his emotions. So if he likes you, he beats the hell out of you and calls you dirty names. That's how he shows affection. It's actually you should kind of feel sorry for Uncle Andy, actually, that he can't be more free with his emotions. But I certainly never picked it up as a threat. I used to ask guys that, hey, what just happened? They would say, well, you said it was great to see me, and I said, I haven't seen you in a while. I said, what about the fact that I hit you and called you dirty names? Oh, yeah, you did that too. You think that would have been first on the list? The first thing, it's not important, is it? Have a seat. You know why? Because words don't matter. Words don't matter. What's pushing the words out? If I say the nicest words in the world and I push them out with sarcasm, aggression, right, with negativity, you'll read me, you'll read the negativity, and you'll react to it. And you know what's funny is, so will everybody else. Imagine that you are all students, and you're all seniors of mine, and I have a problem with you in class, and I give you some little sarcastic little thing. Oh, you are such a wonderful student. Every student just read me and judged me for that. It wasn't just you. It's not just personal between me and you. They're wired as cavemen to constantly read their environment, even when it doesn't involve them. Okay? I want you to be aware of that as we go through these things, kind of how you give these things off. So why do our words sometimes fail to garner cooperation? Because your words don't matter. What does matter is what is pushing those words out. You know, some of you have coworkers. You'll think, yeah, you know, Sally. I work with Sally. Sally has the worst opinions in the world. She just spews them out whenever she wants to. She has no filter. And she never gets in trouble. She says, if I said half the crap she says, I'd get in trouble. And then your coworkers say, oh, that's just old crusty Sally. That's how she is. Crusty Sally, yeah, it doesn't matter. People just know she gets all this extra leeway because she's got a heart of gold. She's vulnerable. You can read her. You read right past the words, okay? Don't get hung up on your words. And don't think you're fooling anybody. Here's one of the rules of TACCOM. You're not fooling anybody, and nobody is fooling you. You can read everybody, and everybody can read you. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about passive aggressiveness, about how that works, why we still use it. When you say, well, wait a minute, we said we can't read each other, why do we still do it? We'll talk about that. All right. What is the number one enemy of TACCOM? Number 3 there. The number one enemy, the thing that can destroy your ability to communicate more than anything, is your personal anger. Personal anger destroys your ability to get me to cooperate with you and de-escalate. In fact, if I come to you already angry, let's say I'm a parent and I've had a rough life. I come to you already angry, and you're going to tell me that my kid's a bully, and I'm going to argue with you. Think of it this way. I actually need you to be a problem for me. What is my belief system coming in? What is my belief system coming in? My kid's not a problem. I don't have a problem. Your school has a problem. Your faculty has a problem. Every one of the other students have a problem. Trouble is where did she learn how to deal with jerks like me? She's a teacher. She's in charge. She's an authority figure. Where did she learn how to deal with people like me? Well, let's see. When I was growing up, I had siblings, so I learned how to deal with them. Okay, so how did you win arguments with your sister? I just assume you have a sister. How would you, if I'm loud?
I'm actually only child.
Oh, you're only child. Okay. You'd probably punch her. If I was loud, she'd get louder. If I was violent, she'd get more violent. If I made threats, that's how we learn to fight, right? So here's what we're good at. All of you are. You're really, really good at fighting with your equals and fighting with the people over you. What do you perceive? Your parents, your bosses, the school district, whatever. We're good at that. You know what we're not good at? Is being in charge. We're not good at being in charge because what we know how to do is fight. We know how to argue. We know how to prove our point. So often that fails because there's a huge element of anger and defensiveness in that. This class talks about that. Well, how do we get away from that anger and defensiveness so that I can get my job done, not be a patsy, I can walked on, and not generate problems in the future? Okay, so we'll talk about that. So number one enemy, personal anger. Anger is almost never required. It's weird. Anger is almost never required. Yours. Because you're in charge. Okay? The last one is, in fact, anger is the great equalizer. It's like handing over 40% of your authority. As soon as you get angry, it's like handing over 40% of your authority. I tell my people this in the jail. I just trained a bunch of my correctional deputies the other day, and I tell cops this all the time, and paramedics. I can defend a lot of things. When I watch the videos, I can defend all that stuff going on. You know what I can never defend? Your anger. I can't ever defend one of my people getting angry at an inmate. There just isn't a reason for it. I can never, ever defend a teacher getting angry at a student. I can certainly defend you kicking him out of the classroom, keeping him suspension, expulsion, whatever you can do, parent-teacher conferences, all the official things that you do to kind of get control. Like, man, that's all good, do all that. I can never defend anger. Let me tell you the real danger of anger. Besides the fact that you don't get your goals met, let me ask you a question. How many bad experiences do you have to have at DMV before you say DMV sucks? One. Okay. And let's go. Let's say who's had a bad experience at DMV? Have you had one? Just and I'll ask you, how long ago was it? How long ago was that experience? So you say, well, the first one was back in 1985. It was terrible. I mean, it was absolutely awful. And then once again, in 1997, I had another problem, and the DMV sucked. Wow, that is a sweeping judgment for DMV based on 2 experiences 12 years apart, right? This is how we do this, though. We're all cavemen. We do this. Yes, I need to actually pigeonhole everything. So DMV sucks because of that one thing. When I have people come into my jail, effing cops is like 800,000. I bet you met us all. I mean, no, just the 3 that I met are jackasses. So all of you are jackasses. That's how it works. Think of it this way. A parent or a child that comes to you with that belief already in place, and they're comfortable with that belief, they need you to support that belief. So, they need you to get angry at them. That way they can say, see, I knew it. You've been the problem all along. I knew it. See, I told you that you were wrong. You told me that I was wrong, and that my kid's a bully. That proves once again that you guys are the problem. You're never going to get through to me. And what I'm picking up on is your defensiveness and your anger. You're giving me so much to work with. Thank you for that. That's what TACCOM's about. How not to give that away, right? Okay. Number 2, enemy of tactical communication. Number 2, enemy of TACCOM. Passive aggressiveness. I also call passive aggressiveness anger disguised. Anger disguised or disguised anger. Passive aggressiveness is another way of expressing anger. Okay? So you think about it. Wait a minute, Andy, you just told us a minute ago that it's really easy to see. Everybody can tell. I mean, the guy in the back can see when somebody's being passive aggressive. Why did we get away with it? Why do people do it? Well, think of it. What happens when you call somebody on it? So let's suppose, which one was a good employee? It was you? And what's your name? Jen. So you were such a great employee. You see what I did with Jen also? I don't want to go into this too deeply because it's been on the time, but you see how the signals I gave her, I said all the right words, right? You were such a great employee. But you hear how I said it? You are such a great employee. All those extra pauses in there and the extra enunciation. And then I'll do something with no words and every one of you is going to have the same reaction. This is what you really picked up on. Not just the words and the tone. This was it. When you lock eyes with somebody and rotate your body, you guys can't help it. Right now you're like, okay, I'm wired to actually not like that. So when you accidentally did it to somebody, you need to get back in the classroom, mister. You just gave him something to work with, right? Inadvertently did it. We pick up on things like that all the time. So passive aggressiveness, the way you get out of it is you just change how it's said. So Jan says, this is bullshit. You call me, Tim, I'm said, that kind of attitude. So she complains, hostile work environment or whatever. So I'm a supervisor. It's not a hostile work environment to tell my employee she's great. What are we talking about? So we're in the office talking to our bosses. And she says, the way you said I was a great employee, and I say, is that what you heard, Jen? Oh, I would never. Oh my God, I think you're the best. Really? Is that what you, oh gosh, I don't know. Suddenly, she looks foolish. She looks like she overreacted. She looks like she has a problem with me. It's so obvious. What? No, I'm obviously a lying jerk, but this is how I get out of it. So by the age of about 16, Jen learns you can't call people on being passive aggressive. They just change how they said it and their tone and all this, and they totally skate. You look like you're oversensitive, like you look foolish. So what do we start doing instead? Well, we start getting smart. So Jen says, I keep my friends close and my frenemies closer. So if Andy wants to go to lunch with me, yeah, I'll go to lunch with you because I know you're talking about being behind my back, and I'm going to give you what I want you to put out. So there you go, right? That's how we work. Passive aggressiveness is another form of anger. Now, I'm not going to talk in a minute. I'm not talking about the sad kind. Like Dan here, Dan, right? Dan and I are good friends. We've known each other a long, long time, like 10 years we've been working together. And Dan's one of those guys, he's kind of a tough guy, he's a manly man, right? He makes fun of the ladies when their pets die. Like, these ladies here, the cat died, and they're like, oh, my cat died. What do you say? He goes, oh, Jesus, get over it. It's not like it's a kid, it's a freaking cat. You get another cat. He's like, what's wrong with these people? Well, he starts coming to work. He's a friend of mine, and he's kind of been down lately. And I said, Dan, what's up? He goes, well, I got that 12-year-old, Labrador, that golden lab. Man, he's sick, and I'm worried about him. Oh, all right. So, okay, well, hey, it's just a pet, right? So you say, just a dog, right? So he comes to work one day, and then we're good friends. And I see him, and I say, hey, Dan, what's up? He goes, nothing. What? Danny, are you all right? Yeah. All right. You want to get some coffee or anything? No, I'm good. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to get to work. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, okay. What did he just tell me? What did all of you, it's simply reenact me, he's not even involved. What did that conversation just tell you? My dog died. I'm barely hanging on here. Please do not push me on this. And of course, I have the added burden of being a jackass, that I make fun of the ladies when their cats die. Now that it's happened to me with my dog, I have a certain newfound empathy that I should have had all along that's really, really painful. And so I have a lot of guilt and sadness, and please, as a friend, would you give me some space? I ain't talking about that kind of passive aggressive. That's very passive aggressive. He's lying his ass off, isn't he? Oh, nothing's wrong, I'm fine. No, you're not. You're obviously upset. But that give him compassion and sympathy and empathy, and I give him distance. I know he'll be all right, right? I'm not talking about that kind. I'm talking about the kind of passive aggressive. Let's see. I want to go to Outback, and my wife wants to go to Logan's. So we have a discussion about it. And I win. Yeah, these are on purpose. So the discussion consists of what? A lot of recriminations and guilt. And my win consists of what? My name joining a list of other a-holes that she knows. And I got a big check mark next to it. That's my list. That's what I win. Am I going to have a wonderful dinner with my wife? No. Is there going to be a price to pay? Yes. And both directions? Am I going to be equally incensed and defensive? She's going to punish me, and I'm going to punish her right back for punishing me, right? This is going to be our little relationship thing we're going to work through. So, I won. We're going out back. Pretty happy, so I'm getting changed, getting ready. She's putting her clothes on, her dress on, getting ready to go, and she's all moping around, just slow. I said, okay, come on. Jen, you'll be my wife, okay? Come on, Jen, let's go. And Jen says, fine. And you know what? I wasn't born yesterday. I said, well, oh, I get it, Jen. You're gonna spoil this now, huh? Is that what you're gonna do? You said, okay, we can go. Now you're gonna punish me for it, maybe guilt me out of it or whatever. This is nice. So Jen says, oh no, not at all. King Andy gets what he wants. You want to go to Outback? Let's go to Outback. We're gonna have a wonderful time. Let's go. So I'm sitting there fuming because she's doing this. So passive, so aggressive at the same time. So I'm driving to Outback. I'm going to get my Outback, don't I? I have to, don't I? I can't let her win because then I'm losing, right? I can't give her what she wants. I'm losing. So I'm going to win, but win nothing. So on the way to Outback, I stop at Costco to get some gas in my truck. And she's sitting in the car. And John? Yeah, John? Dan. What? My best friend Dan, who I've known for 10 years, but my amnesia suddenly kicked in. Dan is there getting gas too at the gas pumps. The last guy I sat there was John. That's why I got this last class. Dan's there at the gas pumps. And he sees me. And he says, hey, what's up, man? He said, oh, Jen and I, we're going to dinner out back. And I kind of like, use a few cuss words and express my feelings about what, her sitting in the thing. She's just sitting there just going. So he said, so Dan says, hey, listen, I got just a couple questions for you. I've known you guys a long time, Andy. I've known you for 10 years. I know how you are. Can I ask you just a couple questions? And it's going to sound kind of funny, but I want you to do something for me. I said, yeah, what's that? He goes, I want you to pretend like your anger at Jen is like a piece of cellophane, like saran wrap, and just peel it off. He goes, you'll find anger is like that. It doesn't go very deep. You just peel it off and just set it on the hood of your truck. He goes, you can put it right back on when you're done because you earned it. That's righteous anger. But I need you not be angry to answer these questions. So I said, all right, Dan, whatever, okay. All right, there you go. Okay, my anger's off, I feel good. Okay, I'm not angry. Okay, what's up? And he says, just 2 questions real quick. Andy, who is the most important person in the world to you? I said, well, Jen. Jen, she's the most important person. She's my wife. She's the most important person in the world. My wife and my kids, they mean everything. But she's the most important. And then he says, okay, true or false? No anger, it's on the hood. As a man, one of your core values and identities is to protect and provide for your wife. And I said, yes. Actually, I get a great deal of personal satisfaction out of that. Protecting and providing for my wife makes me feel very manly. That's a very manly thing that I do. I really, really like that. And then he says, why on this occasion, then, are you doing neither of those things? Not only are you not protecting and providing for her, but you're hurting her and taking things away. What allows you to do that? You just told me she's the most important person in the world to you. And I said, that friggin' anger. He goes, isn't that funny? He says, go ahead and pick it up. Look through it. Look, it's totally transparent, right? Everything seems so clear through it. But look how it distorts what's true all the rest of the time. When I'm not having anger, I look at you and you're the most important person in the world to me. There's nothing you cannot have. There's nothing I won't do for you. If I put that little cellophane in front, you become a thing, an object, a problem, an obstacle, an adjective. He says, and that's only the second worst thing it does. The worst thing it does is not only does it prevent you from seeing your wife the way that she actually is to you all the rest of the time, it prevents you from seeing yourself, truthfully. And I can ask everybody in here, don't raise your hands because you're going to nod your head. Think to yourself, I have said and done things out of anger that I deeply regret and wish I could take back. Because the person that said that wasn't me. It was that little bit of cellophane. And so anyway, I talked to Dan and I said, hey, thanks, Dan. I said, I never really thought about it that way. So I get back in the car. I said, I'm leaving the anger on the hood. So I get back in the car. I said, hey, honey, listen, you know what? I was thinking, after talking to Dan, let's go to Logan's. I mean, you know what? I don't mind. Logan's is good too. And I mean, I'm not trying to play games. Let's just go to Logan's. That genuine offer. Then suddenly the passive-aggressive, angry wife says, well, you know, I know that you like Outback. It's just that I think that the steaks are too salty and it's freaking dark in there, and I think I know why. They don't want you to see that bill all at once. It's expensive. Even though, and that doesn't have to be true. Maybe Logan's is more expensive. It doesn't matter. Her belief is, Logan, and then she'll do something else. You know, and Logan's, you know, we like country western music, and they have their bright lights. It's nice in there. And Coors Light's on special. The big one's on special till 8:30 tonight for $2.50. That's a winner right there. Suddenly, you take the anger away from this and this passive aggressiveness. Now you have a married couple literally taking care of each other. I'm the protecting provider. She's the nestering nurturer. Look at that. Oh, wow. No anger. Look what we can do. You put that little bit of cellophane of anger between you. None of that happens. None of that happens. And it's the same when you deal with people in public. When that parent shows up with that anger in front of them like that, they're seeing you through something that distorts everything. But it's completely transparent. You ask them, are you justified in all your rage? Certainly I am. There's no question about it. There's no shading on that. It's just all wrong. So, being passive-aggressive fools no one. Everybody can read you. Let's talk about that number 3 thing there. That's a big deal. Number 3, enemy of tactical communications. It says trying to win the argument or teach somebody a lesson. This is another part of the anger thing. We're wired as cavemen. I do a lot of this in the longer class that we do about your natural need to be correct and to correct those in error. And your natural need to seek agreement is one of our most powerful drives, is to seek agreement. That's why we all hang out together. We like to. And frankly, let's say, if we all agree on something, we can move mountains, can't we? If we all agree. So we're constantly seeking agreement. So I need you to stop thinking, Jen, what you're thinking, and start thinking what I'm thinking, so that we can agree. And she says, that would be wonderful, except just that last part. Could you stop thinking what you're thinking, and you think what I'm thinking, and then we can agree? See, that's how the world works. In your notes, it says, do not refute. That's in all caps, underline. What you note is, do not refute a person's beliefs. Do not refute a person's beliefs. Just acknowledge and accept their perspective. The next note explains the rest of it. So I'm never going to refute your belief. You know what I will refute? Your fears and anxieties. You know how I refute fears and anxieties? With confidence and competence. In fact, more pointedly, confidence about my competence. When I train paramedics, I say, when you get done dealing with that patient, they should feel, regardless of what their medical condition was, they should feel that it was their lucky day that you were on duty. You know how I know that? And you know how they knew that? Because you friggin' told them that. You couldn't be in better hands. My partner and I, we're the best paramedics in Butte County. Just ask us. You could not be in better hands than you are with us. That's what people should feel like. When you deal with that problem, the student or the parent, they should say, Jesus, finally somebody who listens to me. Well, no, you didn't do anything different than anybody else. It's just the way you did it. The way that you regarded them. The way that you let them have their beliefs. When somebody comes into my jail and says, you effing cops. A TAPCOM guy like me says, effing cops? Do you have a problem with the cops out there? Yeah, effing cops. And hey, well, good news. I'm not like that. I'm Andy Duch. I don't treat people like that. Come on in. Get you out of here as quick as we can. What am I giving him to work with? Nothing. Am I refuting his beliefs? No, that's his belief. I'm just adding one right next to it. Oh, you believe cops suck? Okay, well, that's fine. I don't suck, so here's me over here. What happens to beliefs when they're not supported over time? We need our beliefs supported over time. What happens to them if we don't support them? They erode, they dry up, they shrink, they go away. Okay? There's a couple of books that I recommend. Don't write this down because they're in your notes. But I sometimes forget to mention these. This one's called The Anatomy of Peace and Leadership and Self-Deception is the other one. They're both by Arbinger. They're in your notes, so you don't have to write it down. Highly recommend them because what they're about, and they're so profound, they're told in a story format, which I like, is they're about belief systems and blame. And how belief and blame play into our lives. It's a fascinating study on how people get caught up in belief systems and how we get caught up defending ourselves when we're not even the one that's being accused. It's amazing, right? So I highly recommend those books. I don't want to forget to mention them. Okay, so do refute fears and anxieties with confidence and confidence. You know, I'm thinking about it. It says just acknowledge, accept their perspective. Okay, so let's take perspective as another way of talking about beliefs. Somebody tell me, what does the phrase "nothing is written in stone" mean? What does it mean? Just literally, what is it? Nothing's written in stone. It means okay, he says, yeah, it's easy. Nothing's written in stone. Things are subject to change. Things are changed. Nothing's permanent. Everything can change. So that's his perspective. Nothing is written in stone. This is my perspective. Nothing's written in stone. Literally, nothing's written in stone. Am I wrong? No. This is nothing written in stone. Literally, is he wrong? No, his perspective is, well, what I mean is, no, everything's fluid and it can change. I'm all like, this won't change, it's permanent. That's engraved in a rock. Nothing's written in, literally nothing is written in stone. That's my perspective. You have another perspective. Okay, Dan, read that out loud. What does it say? You know what, Dan? It says the same thing on this side. It's all about your perspective. Nothing's written in stone. I can prove it. Look, there it is. Not written in stone. Nothing's written in stone. I can prove it. Nothing's written in stone. Thinks that he can prove it. Nobody's wrong. Perspective and beliefs don't need to be mutually exclusive. Let me have mine. If I tell you that every time I've ever come to your campus, I've had a crappy experience, accept it. Say, wow, that's unfortunate. I'm really sorry about that. Hey, good news. You're going to have a good experience with me. I'm just not like that. End of discussion. That's it. That's how you accept somebody's beliefs. I don't need to win this argument. There isn't one. Okay? And I know for a fact that you're not mad at me because I haven't said no yet. I've known you 2 minutes. It takes people 10 minutes to hate me that much. So I know that you're mad at somebody else, right? Okay. I remember some years back when I was doing this paramedic group, I asked them about compliance issues. As part of this class, we're going to have a little bit of it in this class, a little taste of it, is selling part of this class. And I asked them, I said, hey, give me some compliance issues that paramedics have. You know, there's things that just commonly the patients don't want to do. They go, oh, that's easy. They don't want the IV, and they don't want to pay for the ride. They don't want to go on the ambulance. It's too expensive. I said, okay, tell me something about the IV. What's your sales pitch? What do you say when I don't want the IV? It was crickets. I'm like, no, it's a profession. You got a guy with 3 weeks on, a guy with 30 years on. You must have a profession. You go, hey, listen, this happens fairly often, so when they don't want the IV, this is what you do, and this is what you say. One guy finally said, I explained the medical necessity. I said, oh, so that's the problem. Medical necessity is the problem. Oh, so the patient is obviously ignorant of the efficacy of lactated ringers on replacing lost blood volume to prevent shock. So if you just explain that to him, well, he'll just jam it in there. Is that the problem? No. I said, what's the problem? They go, oh, well, they're afraid. They're afraid. So they have a belief about the IV. Remember, we don't refute beliefs, right? What do we refute? Fears and anxieties. Oh, you're afraid of it. Hey, good news. I'm actually trained to actually go after your fears and anxieties with my confidence and competence. And I don't care if you were putting an IV in or you're a teacher with a kid who's worried about passing the class. It doesn't matter. Okay? Confidence and competence overcomes fear and anxiety. So the way it looks with paramedics is, come up here, Jen, I'll use you. So anyway, Jen doesn't want the IV. Okay, I'm gonna get on my knee here. So I said, hey, listen, Jen, let me see here. Listen, I understand you don't want the IV. You know, I don't like them either. I have to sit down when I get blood, okay? First of all, it doesn't go here. I put it in the back of here, right here, and I use the smallest needle in my set. Now, I use humor here, and I see Enlo is here, right? I did this one time. The lady was a nurse, so, and she called me on it, and it was embarrassing. My next line is, listen, this medication is going to make you feel so much better, and believe me, you don't want those ham-handed ladies at the ER doing this. And she was one of them. And she had very nice, smooth, small hands, and I was totally wrong. But anyway, I said, here's an example, it's humor. I said, you don't want these ham-handed ladies at the ER doing this. You want to get a line going, an IV, you want a paramedic to do it. We do it all day, every day, no problem. You're all right, you're going to be good. Okay, so I give her this little sales pitch about the IV. This is all I told her. Hey, you know what, Jen? With me, you're safe. That's all. Now, I can't just say that, but that's what she needed to feel. And that sales pitch made her feel safe. I didn't refute her beliefs. In fact, in that regard, I actually agree with her. I'm afraid of needles too. Aren't you? Isn't this your lucky day? You got the paramedic who's really sensitive about having needle sticks. I don't think I'd want somebody who liked it doing it, so yeah, good for you. And you're bragging about your abilities. You just told me, you can't be in better hands than you are. We're the best paramedics here. You want to get lying in? Paramedics, all day, every day, no problem. It's going to help you. That's what I'm talking about. Have a seat, thank you. So I asked the paramedics, I said, what are they actually, there's a fear thing. What are they afraid of? And so, the obvious one, well, they're afraid of, something, because it isn't always obvious. That's why I'm making this point. Well, they're afraid of being penetrated by sharp metal objects. Anybody like the idea? Last class, somebody raised their hand. Remember that? Anybody like the idea of being penetrated by sharp metal objects? You know what I mean? I said, you're probably hanging by hooks over the Grand Canyon, or whatever, one of those kids. No, we don't like it. I said, so that's an obvious thing. But what actually could also be the problem? A little deeper problem. Let's put it toward men, because sometimes man equals dummy. So I'm at home with Jen, and I tell her, I say, Jen, oh man, I got a pain in my chest, and it's radiating down my arm a little bit. I think I might have pulled a muscle. And she's all like, no, dumb E, you will probably have a heart attack. Oh, no, I'm just going to walk it off. This is how men are, bloody men. I'll walk it off, And so she calls the paramedics. The paramedic shows up to deal with me, and I'm really reluctant to take the IV. It's got nothing to do with my fear of needles. What does it have to do with? I'll ask you this. Who needs IVs? Who needs them? Sick people. I just told all of you I'm not sick. If I let you put the IV in, I have to come to face with my fear that I might be dying. And here's how dumb I am. I would rather die in denial than let you put the IV in and admit that I'm sick. That's how stupid I am. That's when you need somebody to say, I understand completely, man. I understand completely. I would feel the same way. Man, you're with Uncle Andy here. You couldn't be in better hands. Nobody goes on my watch. I'm going to convince you that I'm so confident and competent that it'll take away that fear, right? So I tell the guys, when you're dealing with parents that are angry at you, students that are angry at you, try and figure out, what are you actually angry about? Very often you'll find, oh, wow, you're just afraid of things. You feel anxious about, oh, well, that's good. I can actually do something about that. Okay. Next page, TAPCOM is A. Number 4 there, says TAPCOM is selling or sales. TAPCOM is selling or sales. And the note is 70% of initially uncooperative people will cooperate with a compelling sales pitch. 70% of people that you initially say to tell you no, and I don't want to cooperate with you, if you have a compelling sales pitch, 7 out of 10 would say, oh, okay. Basically, you're presenting it the way they haven't thought about it. But let me tell you what you're most often answering. You're most often answering the why question. Hey, listen, sir, can I ask you to leave the campus, please? Why? Well, it's a closed campus. Only students and faculty are allowed on campus. It's the law. Listen, I'm a veteran. I bled for this country. I can walk where I want. Remember, what do you say now? What do you say? Thank you? Well, you can thank me by leaving me alone and let me walk on campus then. Thank you for not attacking me while I call the police department. How do you sell that? How do you sell anything? You have to know why. And you'd be surprised how often, I don't care what profession, I've had private companies, insurance companies, banks, Build.com, I did 2 days at Build.com. It doesn't matter. Hospitals, shelters, it doesn't matter. When you have rules that you're enforcing or trying to put out there, know why the rule exists. You should know why it's a good idea, why it's a good rule, right? And have a sales pitch as a group that you kind of come up with, right? I'll give you one, and this is one that's kind of a common one that I use a lot in the groups that we do when we do sales pitches. The reason I'm asking you to leave is because if you stay, the next guy that comes that isn't a veteran and isn't a straight shooter and isn't a cool guy, I can't keep him off. I'm asking you to help. Just help us out here. If you could help us out, partner with us, I'd appreciate it. If you leave, then I say nobody else can say nothing. I don't have to let the next guy on that's going to hurt these kids. So I want you to help my kids out a little bit and just do that for us so that we can say nobody comes on but teachers, staff, and the kids. I'd appreciate it. What's he going to say? How's he going to get pissed at you? You just asked him to help the kids in a very non-challenging, non-threatening way, respecting his beliefs. Yeah, it's America, land of your home of the brave. You can walk where you want. Can you help us out a little bit? Can you help us protect these kids? That's a common way to do it, okay? This is something that, I don't care where you work, you should kind of think about these things. Yeah, what do you say when there's a lockdown? Or what do you say when there's an intruder on campus? Or what do you say to a parent who's being unruly and loud? What do you do? Okay, some of you have interesting lives. And some of you have had interesting paths through your life. What happens when your path through life kind of matches more or less somebody that you're trying to deal with, maybe somebody you're trying to help? Can it be helpful for you to share that? Should you share it? Should you share personal experiences? Should you? Jen?
Yeah.
You've got a 15-year-old autistic son. So do I. You know what? Don't tell me what it's like to have a 15-year-old autistic son. You only know what it's like for you to have one. You don't know what it's like for me. You ever tried to help somebody like that? Hey, yeah, you have depression disorder. I also, am treated for depression. So I know how you feel. No, you don't know how I feel. You know how you feel. So one of my first things about these personal examples when you're trying to help somebody is be cognizant of the fact that you're not going to supplant your judgment and feelings for somebody else's. And here's the reason why. Once I do that with you, then you feel pressure that if you don't handle it the way that I do, somehow I'm telling you that you're wrong. That's why I don't want you to do it. In other words, I got a 15-year-old autistic son, so do you. I know just what it's like. Here's what I do. And then you're going to feel like, oh, that's not what I do at all. Now we're going to have a difference. And she's going to resist me. I'm going to say, wait a minute, what are you resisting me? Pretty soon, we're actually having a disagreement about something that we should agree on, about 99%. So, some years back, I was doing a class up in Paradise, and another behavioral health one, and the lady from behavioral health said, hey, I got this story, Andy, I got to tell you. I got this lady that comes into my clinic. She's about 43 years old, single mom, has 3 kids, like 5, 7, 9-year-old kids. And she's one of those unfortunate, stereotypical, archetypal single moms. She's very rough around the edges. She uses a lot of profanity. She parents by yelling at her kids. And as you all know, being educators yourselves, that the kids that do the best have structure and not abuse. Kids don't thrive under abuse. In fact, those ones that have the most discipline are the least well behaved. So she goes, of course, the kids are always, running around crazy. She says, all I did one day, she said, they were in the lobby, and I leaned over my desk, and I said, hey, excuse me, kids, can you just quiet down a little bit? Sweet as pie. She said, that single mom came unglued on me. She came over to that desk, you the effing ripped me a new one. I don't know what I was talking about. You don't talk to my kids like that. Very similar to some of the experiences that you may have gone through with some of those parents, some of those, what I call mama bear parents, right? And she said to me in the class, she said, well, the ironic thing, the funny thing is, she goes, I have freaking been there. My husband left me 23 years ago with 3 kids. I never saw him again. And over the next 2 decades, we were all worked really hard. We put our effort forth. We had tons of help, tons of people helping us and all this. And everybody made it. My kids grew up. They got families of their own. They're all successful. I got this wonderful job at behavioral health. And she says, there's hope for her. I've friggin' been there. And I said, wow, that sounds like a pretty good sales pitch if you don't mind sharing it with her. You know, it's a personal one, obviously. But I said, let me demonstrate for you what it would sound like if you did it with her. So I said, next time she comes in and she gives you you just stop and say, whoa, listen, my husband left me 23 years ago with 3 kids to raise, okay? We had a lot of help along the way, and we worked really hard, and, you know, my kids, we all made it. My kids grew up, they're doing fine, I made it. You know, this can work. And then you look her right in the eye, and you say, I'm not saying I know what it's like for you. I have not walked in your shoes, but I have a pair just like them. I have not walked your path, but I made that journey. There are thousands of people lined up in this world to help you. I'm just one of them. What's a single mom going to say? You kids, shut the hell up! This nice lady's trying to work over here. Yeah, that helps. Now you can work on her parenting style now that you got her to kind of flip over. What I'm telling you is personal examples can be very, very compelling, provided one thing, that you're not angry. If you're angry at her, if you're annoyed or angry or defensive because she called you those awful names and accused you of things that you're not guilty of, and you try and use that, you'll come off as a topper. You'll come off as oh yeah, well, my husband left me 24 years ago with 4 kids. Top that, right? Yeah, then she walks away thinking, oh my God, I can't even fail the pass. She failed better than me. Not helping anybody. So if you can genuinely keep the anger at bay and say, oh wow. And I'll say this, for those of you that are Christians, you know who made that happen. For those of you that are not Christians, you go like, wow, what a quinky dink. How fateful is that? Out of the 460 people that she could have met at behavioral health, she met the person that has like a twin life. Wow. That sounds like an opportunity to help somebody, right? That's what I'm talking about. Don't do it and be a topper, though, okay? You know, I told that employee, I said, you heard a lady yelling at you, but we can all agree, did the behavioral health worker do anything wrong? No, she was, kids, could you please just be quiet? Like any one of you would do. Did she deserve to be screamed at like that and called names? Absolutely not. She was the sweetest lady in the world. Didn't deserve it, right? So I told her this. I said, she wasn't yelling at you. She wasn't calling you names. You know what she actually was saying? You know what the single mom was saying? She was saying, I'm alone. I'm afraid. I'm abandoned. I'm abused. I'm overwhelmed. I'm helpless. And now by you, I'm judged. That's what I heard. I didn't hear a single mother who was mad at a sweet lady from behavioral health. I heard a single mom who was mad at her life. And what are the odds? How lucky was that lady to meet you? That's the luckiest lady I could think of. The one person that could probably help her. Be very careful, though, about the personal examples. Like I said, I don't care if you meet somebody and they have identical things going on in their life. You can't presume to understand what it's like for them. I have not walked in your shoes, but damn it, I have a pair of shoes just like those. I can at least empathize. It's amazing, okay? All right. The whole speech that you give the single mom there, the whole speech I gave you with the IV, all I said, even though it was a big sales pitch, all I said is, hey, guess what? With me, you're safe. So often, people that are angry at you, their anger is based on fear and anxiety. In fact, if you think about it, anger is more closely related to fear than any of the other emotions. Anger and fear are like two sides of the same coin. Very often, the person that's pissed at you is actually afraid or anxious of a lot of things. And if you can peel that onion back a little bit, it's amazing how you can de-escalate somebody. You cannot do it if you match their anger. Right? You ask yourself, well, where did we learn how to handle those difficult people? Parents, school? Well, we're not good at being in charge. We're good at fighting people over us. So what do we use? What do we use instead of anger? Look at letter B there. I want you to write the word deflection or deflecting. Deflection or deflecting. So tactical communication is selling. You have a sales pitch. It can be personal if it works. But work on those sales pitches. And then second is deflecting. Deflection is real simple. You basically just acknowledge the person's statement, and then you add on what you want to add. Here's the proviso. Here's the important. Here's the warning. I just told you that words don't matter. It's what pushing the words out does. Try to avoid the word but. What can the word but do to everything before it in the sentence? It negates it, wipes it off the table. Yeah, it's like Mythbusters say, I reject your reality and I substitute my own. I'm going to pay lip service to your belief, then I'm going to dismiss it, and I'm going to tell you what you should believe. He's wired as a caveman to resist that. Because I'm telling him, I'm going to pay lip service to you kind of passive aggressively, and then I want you to agree with me. Knowing full well that you want me to agree with you. I'm ignoring your beliefs, right? I'm refuting them. That's how powerful that word but can be. I'm not saying that when you talk about your own beliefs. Like, yeah, I used to think all cops were jerks, but since I met you guys, yeah, I realized that, there's some good cops. That doesn't generate any resistance for me because it's about somebody's own belief. But if I give you your belief, and then I put a but there, it's powerful. And it doesn't have to even be a long explanation. But this is a great example. I did a couple sessions for the Chico Peace and Justice Center. Chico Peace and Justice Center, the folks that go there probably have to be the kindest people you ever get. I mean, they are completely warm and fuzzy, completely liberal, left-leaning, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not being negative. I'm saying these people have some wonderful spirits. And if the rest of the world was like them, we wouldn't need anybody like me or any armies. So this lady at the Peace and Justice Center made this speech during the class that I was doing for them. She goes, I just want to tell you about Chico Peace and Justice Center, about we're non-judgmental, we don't label, this and that, blah, blah. And she made this nice little speech about their core values and how they accept everybody and how they don't judge and they don't. And I said, wow, that's wonderful, that's fantastic. I really thought it was nice to hear. She got done with her little speech. Immediately, one of the guys in our own group, another Peace and Justice guy, said, yeah, but I was raised Catholic, and he got that far. And so he said, yeah, but I was raised Catholic. And she started to go, well, I didn't say. Now, stop. I said, what just happened? There's like 25 people in this class. I go, what? I said, he said, but. And he says, I did? She says, he did? They all said, he did? Yeah, I'm trained to hear it. I said, as soon as he said, but, because she's a cave woman, she has to do one of two things. She has to either vigorously defend her belief, or she has to modify it to try and get more agreement. That's exactly what she did. She jumped out of her friggin' chair to do it. Well, I meant to say it with her. No, don't. I said, had he just said, yeah, period. In my case, being raised Catholic, I have a whole different problem with that. I got all kinds of issues. She would have sat there like this. Well, that's too bad. Because my belief is just perfect right here, and yours is over here, whatever. As soon as he said but, and all he said was, yeah, but. This is what you should think. She had to defend herself. That's how powerful that word can be. Okay? I like inserting periods. I like using the word and. And suggests we're working on this together. Hey, I understand that. And I think we can work this out. Period. I actually do that mentally when I'm talking to people. If I'm having a difficult conversation with an employee or one of the parents I deal with some of the inmates, I'll put mental periods in there. I understand what you're saying. Period. Is it possible you're not getting the whole story from your son? Question mark. Well, no, I went to visit and he told me that. Okay, I've got his file right in front of me. Here's what it says. Period. Offering facts. I know your belief is, people like this, the mama bears. My son is not in fault. I know he's been in jail for 7 years in a row. It's never his fault, okay? And the problem is that you're not giving him what he's supposed to get, okay? And I know that because he tells me every time I go see him visiting and he calls me, he tells me what you're not giving him. So I ask the simple question sometimes. Has your son ever lied to you? Well, occasionally. That's okay. No big deal. To your knowledge, have I lied to you? Well, I don't know. I said, okay, let's put it this way. To do it right, this is the same with your job. I love this because it's funny. To do it right is about this much work. To do it the way you're thinking I'm doing it is this much work. I am too friggin' lazy to do that much work to screw your son over. I can't. This is so easy, I would never do all that work. I'm just too lazy to do it the way you think I'm doing it. This is actually the way it happens. And you'll be surprised with something like I said, humor. When you add humor to it, they'll go like, well, this is what he tells me. That's okay. Kids talk. You just let it go. And then focus back on the facts. Remember, you're not trying to win an argument here. You're trying to persuade the person to do something. All right. Go to the third page, I think it is. It says avuncular, like an uncle. In your handout, I think it's the third page. Yes, right there. Yep, there you go. It says in the middle there, regardless of the words used, the avuncular authority figure always communicates. And it says avuncular, like an uncle. You think, well, what does that mean? Well, this is a holdover from many, many years ago when I made this handout. I realized the cops that I liked the most, that seemed to do the best de-escalating people and getting cooperation, were the kind of the crusty Sallies, kind of the tough guys. And I would ask them, say, how do you get people to cooperate with you when you're not really even that nice? I mean, you're kind of crusty. And he goes, oh, that's easy. He goes, I'm easy to read. He goes, they know, I'll kill them. But I'll never get mad at them. They know that I'll always do my job. I'll never get mad. Anger not required. And if you're a teacher, I will always suspend and expel a student that's violent like that. I'll never get mad. I never get mad at students. In fact, I've told this to my students. You may turn your back on me and walk away. I'll never turn my back on you. And in fact, if you're walking away from me, if you turn around and look, I'll still be standing there. Now, you got to come back. 50% of this is on you, Life rewards work. You got to do the work, but I'm never going to turn my back on you. That's the kind of attitude I'm talking about. So, the cops that were really good at getting people to cooperate weren't soft at all. But they also didn't ever get mad. They said, I don't need to get mad, dude. Look, I got all this equipment on. I got a bunch of friends dressed just like me that are going to be here in a minute. Do we have to go through this? Really? We got to fight about this? Hey, these pants are new. Come on, really? How about it? Look, it's a $5,000 warrant, okay? You ain't the crime of the century, all right? Go to jail. I'll take you in there. You get cited and released. I'll play some music. You'll be in there, and you get a bus pass. Just put it behind you, man. These warrants never go away, and they follow you the rest of your life. That dude will handcuff himself. That's what I'm talking about. If I get angry, I'm only proving to himself that I've been a problem all along, and I give him lots to resist. Okay? That's what I'm talking about with anger. All right, so look in the center, in the italics. This is huge. It says, I'm not mad at you, I'm not afraid of you, I'm kind of rooting for you. It says, regardless of the words used, the avuncular authority figure, that number 1, 2, and 3, I want you to circle that. Circle those italics. I'm not mad at you, I'm not afraid of you. In my own way, I'm kind of rooting for you, because here's the good news. If this is who you are as a person, whenever I deal with you, if I have a problem with my kid, or I'm a kid, I have a problem with you, what I get from you is, hey kid, I ain't mad at you. Just doing my job, you understand, right? Listen, I'm kind of rooting for you. I want you to come out of this okay. If that's who you are as a person, you don't need this class. You naturally de-escalate people. You naturally get people to cooperate with you. Naturally. I have actually used this material in a real crisis, like quoting it almost. I was coming back to work from, I was going to Oroville from Chico, I work in Oroville, and I got on the freeway at Cohasset Road, got on 99 South, and as soon as I got on the freeway, a radio call came over the radio and says, hey, North County units, prepare to copy. CHP and Chico PD are blocking the freeway at Highway 32. They're blocking 99 South at Highway 32. There's a lady in the oleander bushes at 20th Street with 2 slashed wrists and armed with a butcher knife. And she's right there, right on the highway. So I go down Cohasset, and I'm approaching 32, and they are close to 32. Now my first thought, being the highly empathetic professional that you pay me to be, was, oh crap, I'm going to get stuck in traffic. And my first response, because I'm a human being like the rest of you, I immediately realized that it was the cars behind me that were getting stopped. I looked in my rearview mirror, and sure enough, there's blues and reds, the CHP doing a little fishtail thing they do, I can't remember what they call it, Lazy Susan or whatever, and they're blocking all the cars behind me. I made it through. Just me. And I'm like, wow, that's lucky. My second thought was, well, I'm not going to actually see anything because I'm a lieutenant. I'm a captain now, but I was a lieutenant. I don't actually work for a living. I don't find any criminals. That's what cops do. I fly a desk. I get to 20th Street. Who do I see? In the oleanders, bloody wrists, butcher knife. Kind of walking like this. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, Butte County, yeah, with her, she's such and such. And she sees me and I'm dressed like this and I have an unmarked car. I don't look like a, full-on cop. And she sees me, she just walks across the freeway. And she walks to the fence at the mini storage area there, or the MLK Park there, and she puts her back against the fence. She's just like this, squatting down. You can just see her doing this. And just got blood just slowly dripping out of the superficial cuts. They weren't too deep. A single CHP officer shows up, a female. I see her walking over, And she sees me, and I kind of give her, hey, what's up? And she goes, okay. And you see her doing this with the lady, and drop the knife, and the lady drops it, and the CHP officer stands on it. And that's it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. At least she's not armed now. At least I can see her hands are free. The next thing that happened took maybe 2 minutes, right out of this class. And this just happened like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. She's up against the fence like this, just in a ball, just panting and just out of her mind with panic. You can tell her anxiety. And I go up to her and I say, hey, what's the matter? She goes, what? I said, what's the matter? And she looked at me in the eye and she said, I want to go to heaven. And I said, today? And she looked at me kind of funny, like, what kind of idiot asked the question? No, I said, no, the reason I'm asking is, why not last week or a year from now? Why is today the day to go to heaven? I mean, why didn't it happen already? And she says, I'm hopeless. Hopeless. I said, hopeless? I said, can I ask you a question? Do you have a diagnosis? And she goes, what? I said, do you have a diagnosis? Why do you want it? I said, no, I work with the behavioral health folks. I know that sometimes talking about diagnosis and medication can be very calming and grounding. I want to hear it. And plus, we can help better, too, if we know more. So she says, yes, I'm schizophrenic, and she told me some other things. All the while, she's calming down a little bit more and more. But I could still sense she was very, very afraid. This is a lot of things. There's a couple cops here. She's hurt. So, right out of this class, I looked and said, hey, I just want to tell you something. I said, you're not in trouble. You haven't done anything wrong. Nobody's mad at you. As it turns out, it's not against the law to suffer. It's not against the law to be sick and need help. And that's all that's going on here. Nobody here is mad at you. You haven't done anything wrong. We just want to help. So some paramedics are going to come. They're going to take you to the hospital, get your wrist fixed up a little bit there. You know, I think you ought to talk to your clinician maybe about maybe your medication. You told me you've been on 5 weeks, and that's kind of like the period where, I didn't tell her this, but the period where it either helps you or makes you want to go to heaven. So maybe your medication, you might want a different one or a different dose. But, give her basically rooting for her. Here's some things that you could try. Talk to your clinician. Talk to your doctor. Tell them about your meds. Because the last med didn't make you do this. This one does. And then she stands up as the paramedics arrive. And she's saying, I just don't like all these cops around. I said, well, what cops? It's just me and this young CHP lady here. And she goes, no, all of them. And she pointed, there's like 40 cops up there on top of the freeway. They're all like, oh. And I said, I don't know what those cops are doing here. I said, they're the worst looky-loos in the world. I said, it's just a couple people talking down here. Ain't nothing going on. And she gets up. She stands up. She's breathing calmly. They bandage her wrist. They walk her to the ambulance. And I go on my way. Right out of this class. Now tell me somebody that's been in a bigger crisis than trying to kill themselves right in front of you. Okay? It's extremely comforting to her to hear what I had to say. Because even though I had that whole sales pitch, right? What did I actually tell her? Hey, good news. With me, you're safe. That's all she heard. That's what you needed to hear. I just can't say those words. I had to prove it with the sales pitch, basically. You're not in trouble. Nobody's mad at you. You haven't done a thing wrong. We're going to help you. We're rooting for you. That's what you got right out of this class. Turn the page there. I think it's your last page. It's the paraphrasing page. It says paraphrasing is a powerful tool. I love this. I stole this some years ago from Chico State because I like it so much and I'm too lazy to do my own work, so I just take everybody else's. It's a great example of paraphrasing, or what's good about paraphrasing words. So obviously, if I came to you and I said, hey Dan, I came here at 2 o'clock and now it's 3 o'clock and you told me to come back at 4 and it's 4 o'clock and nobody's seen me, what the hell? He would say, so let me get this straight. You came here at 2, but you wanted to come back at 3 and now it's 4. And you still haven't been helped yet? Wow, okay, hey man, I'm sorry about that. That should not happen. I just got on work 10 minutes ago, but that shouldn't happen. It's a little embarrassing actually for us. So let me see what happens. That's paraphrasing, and it's words at its finest, right? We're TACCOM people. TACCOM people, we don't just rely on paraphrasing words. We paraphrase what's pushing the words out, right? Because the words often don't matter. So I told Dan, yeah, I came here at 2 o'clock. You guys told me to come back at 3 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock and I haven't been seen yet. And Dan says, that makes me furious too when I don't get good customer service that I expect. I come in here and I understand how furious you could be. You know what I say then? Well, I'm not furious. It's just I'm frustrated that I follow the rule. You can hear it, a 50% drop in my anger. Just simply by him acknowledging the legitimacy of what I'm feeling, of what's pushing my words out. He doesn't even have to agree. He just has to acknowledge it. I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying. Andy, because this is my perspective about what you're saying, and this is yours. I can accept this too. It's fine. We can both have our perspectives, okay? So paraphrasing what's pushing the words out can be very, very powerful. Look at number 6. Golden, platinum, and diamond rules. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I don't like the golden rule. You know why? I actually refute the golden rule. Turns out it's all about you. In fact, you're in there twice. Anybody know a 15-year-old teenager? A boy? The ones that, don't care about anything. Hey, son, could you wash your hair? I don't care. I don't care. And the more they say it, the more you realize as a mom or dad, you're like, oh, that means you care very deeply. That's what it means. It means the opposite, right, when you're 15. But what if you're a grown-up and you're like that? I actually don't care what you think about me. I don't care what your opinion is. I don't care if you like me or hate me. What do I have full permission to do to you? Treat you any crappy way I want. Because I don't care how you feel, right? That's why I don't like the golden rule. I like the platinum rule and the diamond rule. Platinum rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto your most cherished loved ones in similar circumstances. Here's a big lesson in this class. Cherished loved ones. I tell people this all the time. I did a big training for State Farm Insurance, believe it or not. They hired me because they were having such a hard time with customers on the phone and in person. People just being really unruly. And I said, here's one of the clues. Constantly remind yourself, like if you're dealing with Jan and she's a problem, I constantly tell myself, this is somebody's daughter I'm talking to. This is somebody's sister. Maybe she's a mom. I have all those people in my life. How would I want my sister treated? How would I want somebody else's sister treated? I can identify that. And what I'm doing in my own little sneaky way is I'm peeling off the layer of thing from you, and I'm seeing a human being there. And the other side of the coin is also true. I never let Jen forget that I'm a human being. I'm not a uniform. She's yelling at me, and that's, and well, I was like, whoa, wow, hey, God, I got feelings. This kind of hurts. I said, have I done something to make you mad? She goes, well, I just come here and hey, you know what? I'm sorry to hear about that. Good news. I'm Andy Duch. I don't treat people like that. I'm one of the good guys. We're going to be all right. I'm going to force you to see me as a human being, because then it makes it about 1,000 times harder to abuse me. One of the first things I have to do to really treat you poorly is just make you into a thing, a label, an object, adjective, a name. Then I can abuse you, okay? If I see you as somebody's brother or son, shit, I love my brothers. I love my son. You're going to get treated better by me if that's what I see. And I'm going to remind you that I'm somebody. Do you love your brothers? Oh, I'm a brother, so let's just not be jerks to each other. How about that? Yeah, it's really hard for them to do that. One of the first things you do is dehumanize people, right? Don't let yourself be dehumanized. The diamond rule. Do unto others as if their or your parents were present and evaluating your actions. I like putting the parents in there because it's kind of a universal thing that a lot of us, even if our parents have passed on, if they're no longer alive, we like the idea that they would approve. We like the idea that I like the idea that my mom and dad would say, good job on that. That's good. That's a difficult person. You handled that right. I would also like, frankly, the approval of the parents of that I'm talking to. Can you imagine that? The single mom that you're thinking of that has given you grief, wouldn't it be comforting to say, if her parents were there to say, you know what, my daughter has a lot of problems. You don't know about her life, all the abuse and abandonment she suffered. Man, you handle her perfectly. That's great. I'm really grateful to you for that. And then your parents are all like, yeah, I'm proud of you too. That's the daughter, that's the son that I raised. So I don't want you to rely on yourself to be good. I want you to rely on your love for your cherished loved ones and your parents to encourage you to be well, okay? 2 things and we're done. Some years back, I did a big session at the Card Center. I do a lot of training with Card. And there was a group, about 100, it was a 4-hour class, big class, 120 people. There was a table of librarians there, 12 librarians from, it was like the Lord of the Rings, 12 librarians from Sacramento, you know. Nice ladies, really sweethearts, all experienced, all probably older, been in the system a long time. And they were talking about this homeless guy that would come into their branches. And now there was one of those quintessential stereotypes, trench coat, urine-soaked, disheveled, 40-year-old, mentally ill, drunk guy with a backpack. And he consistently did not want to leave his backpack at the front, which was the rule. So when I first dealt with these ladies, we worked on the sales pitch. I said, okay, how can I get the homeless guy to leave the backpack at front. Well, it's the same logic that I employ like when I go to Fairview and teach and train at Fairview. I've done that a few times where they want the kid to take the hat off in class. I told Dave McKay, I said, is it possible that hat is that kid's most cherished possession in this world? Yes, it is possible. And what are you asking him to do? I'm asking him to hide it or put it on the floor. Damn. That hat is the equivalent to your car or your house or your career. How about letting the kid just put it on the desk next to him? How about paying off? Same with this homeless guy with the backpack. Very similar to the veteran one that we did. I said, the sales pitch was, well, just ask him to leave it there. Realize that these are his worldly possessions. It could just be garbage to you. This is all he has. So put it in a place of honor where he can see and say, look, the reason I'm asking you to do this is because if I let you bring your backpack in, and you're a friend of the librarian because you come here every day, and we know you and we trust you, I cannot keep the thieves out. Those thieves that show backpacks, if I let you bring yours in, they got to come in. So help us out. Do me a favor. Let yours stay here. That way I can see. Keep them out too. That's right. Helping us out. While we're working on that sales pitch, though, it became very clear to me that these librarians really hated, I guess is a good word, hated that guy. They had a lot of disdain for him. And you could tell by the comments they made, the jokes they made, their asides, their remarks. I'm like, oh, shit. So at the end of class, I went over to that table of librarians and I said, hey, I'm just curious. Can I talk to you about that homeless guy that we worked on earlier? I said, I'm just curious. Can you tell me this? When did he stop being a human being and become a thing? When did he stop being somebody's son and become a smell? And I'm not trying to be confrontational with you. I want to hate him too. I want to know. So tell me his journey through life. Tell me all of his choices and all of his intentions that he made that led him so inexorably to be this urine-soaked homeless piece of crap that he is today. I want to hate him too. What did he do? The librarians are all, we don't know. No idea. We never actually, talked to the guy. Oh, you don't know. You don't know his journey through life. This is one of those let's judge people across the parking lot deals. Oh, okay, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I do that too. I do it all the time. We all do it. Judge them across the parking lot. Okay, and listen, as long as you're speculating about this guy, let me just throw a couple at you. Is it possible that somewhere a mother pines away for a son she lost 20 years ago to drugs and alcohol and mental illness, and all she prays for is that he finds some kindness in this world, and that he be treated with some dignity and respect that any human being would deserve, and then he comes into your library? Is it possible? Just speculating, spitballing here. Is it possible that he comes into your library because maybe you remind him of somebody he lost 20 years ago? You may be the only human being he talks to all day long, but you'll never ever find that out, will you? Because we're so busy demoting people from human being to piece of garbage that we don't have time to actually talk to them. You would be surprised. I have been many, many times. You would be surprised how wrong you can be about somebody. You'd be surprised. When you talk to somebody about their life, you have it all made up in your mind of what they're all about. You talk to them. I've had this with my female correctional deputies especially. I have a lot of great female correctional deputies that work in the female tanks. And they will tell you, they will say, I judged some of these women and then I accidentally heard her story. I couldn't have survived her life. I couldn't survive the life that she has lived with the abuse and abandonment that she suffered. No wonder she's a freaking drug addict. With that life, wow. It opens your eyes. 2 minutes. I'll give you a story that dovetails right into that. I was going to work a few years ago, and I saw a guy walking from the jail. He was on the Table Mountain County Center, barefoot. And it's 7 in the morning, and I'm looking at this kid, and I'm like, where the heck's he going with his bare feet? 7 in the morning. There's nothing out here. It's 25 miles of Paradise, 26 to Chico, 28 to, there's nothing out there. He's just walking with his jail bag, his clear property bag. So I know he's just coming out of jail. As I go past him, I say, that guy's got a long walk with bare feet, man. Immediately replaced with this. Well, that's what you get for going to jail. Thanks for shopping, Sheriff. Have a nice walk-in effort. And I'm just heading to work. I'm backing into my parking spot in front of the sheriff's office, and I stopped my car, and I thought, I went back. Get in front of the kid, get out of my car. He's walking up to me, and I said, hey, you just got out of jail? He goes, yeah, what were you in for? Drunk in public. All right, well, where are you going? Calm cow. Dude, you got no shoes on. How are you supposed to get to Concord? Like 27 miles uphill. Oh, somebody give me a ride. I'll get a ride or something. I don't know. I'll give you a ride. Come on, get in. He goes, what is it? I'll give you a ride. It's Concord. Get in. So I called it in. Give me 10-14-1 is what it means. And they were like, what? I'm 10-14-1 to Concord. This guy here that I just picked up. So I drove up the hill, First thing he asked me, why did you come pick me up? I saw you go by me and look at me, and then you strode on and came back. I said, I'll tell you why. I said, about 10 years ago, Jerry Smith, who just retired as sheriff, Jerry Smith was coming to work. Middle of July, already 90 degrees, 100 degrees already at 7 in the morning. He said there was a guy, and Jerry Smith tells me the story, there was a guy walking right where you were. This guy, all he had on was cut off jeans. That's it. He had no shirt, and he had sneakers and cut off jeans. That's it. So he's practically naked. Middle of summer, going to be 110 degrees for sure. Jerry Smith sees the guy walking. His first thought is, oh my God, that guy's going to burn up. No shirt. Jesus, hope he, Immediately replaced with, all right, well, that's what you get for coming to jail. Thanks for chopping shit up. Have a nice walk. That's part of the deterrence. And Jerry says, I went to work without a care in the world. Self-justified. He goes, I get off work at noon, early that day, about noon, because I had to get some hay for my horses. I went to Durham, got my hay, and I was coming back up Oral Chico Highway. And he said, who do you think I see walking at 12:30 in the afternoon, high noon, still walking from Oroville? No shirt. Middle of July, 110. Shirt as red as he's as red as you are. He said he was all bent over like this, walking like this, all bent up, walking. Jerry Smith said, I drove past him at 50 miles an hour again, and this time I said out loud, oh my God, look what I did to that man. I told that kid, I said, that's why I came back to pick you up. I am about to make that same mistake Jerry Smith made 10 years ago. So anyway, to tie this into that last story of the librarian, I started talking to the kid. He's 25 years old. I guess I was drawn to him because he reminded me of my son. My son's the same age, he kind of looked like him. He was a stained glass artist. His dad's a professor at Chico State. He was a funny kid, kind of a smart aleck. I like that. I'm a kind of a smart aleck. And I gave him the same advice I give all young kids. I said, hey, listen, just a piece of advice from old Uncle Andy here. They're not going to stop making beer this week. Pace yourself. You could save some beer for when you're 25. That's okay. There'll be plenty of beer left. You don't need to drink it all now. I tell kids that all the time at the keggers I used to go to. Man, enjoy being 17. Don't try to be 25 yet. Believe me, 25 is great, and you'll get there. I want you to get there with nice memories of 17. So do 17-year-old crap, and do 16-year-old crap. Go to the prom. Go to the pep rallies. Do the stuff that the kids your age do. Believe me, you'll grow out of it, and you'll start drinking beer with the rest of us, but you'll have some good memories. So just do this. I give the same advice to all of these kids. Drove up there. Well, I liked it. Went back down the hill. Go in my office. Jerry Smith comes down. He's the sheriff at this point. He goes, hey, I understand you gave some young man a ride to Concal. Yeah, I did, Sheriff. And he goes, what's all that about? I said, well, I saw him walking, and he had bare feet, and I thought about that sunburn story that you told me all those years ago. And you could tell Jerry Smith did not expect to hear that. That wasn't what he expected me to say, because he definitely caught his breath. He's all like that. And he paused, and he looked at me, and he said, I'm proud of you. I packed my guilt with me for years, and you don't have to. So I made up my office. 4 days later, one of my sergeants comes in, Tony Borgman. I says, hey, I got a funny story for you there, Andy. I said, what's up? He goes, I was coming down from 32 from Forest Ranch today, coming to work, probably a few miles out of Chico. I see this old dude walking up the side of the highway, 32, just walking up there. And I figured, it's America, land of the free, home of the brave, you can walk where you want, Didn't think anything of it. And I said, but it's kind of odd that you're out in the middle of nowhere, just walking up a hill, like an old man. So he goes, I was like a mile or two past him, and I thought about what you did 4 days ago with that kid in Concal. So he says, so I went back, and I got in front of the guy, and I was like, hey, sir, how you doing? And the guy was unable to talk. He could barely see. He was non-communicative, and he wouldn't stop walking. Tony had to grab him. He says he was racked with dementia and Alzheimer's to the point where he was unable to communicate. He had wandered away from his care provider, his daughter and son, at 3 a.m. They thought he was still in bed at 8 in the morning. He'd been walking for 5 or 6 hours. And yeah, up the hill. And so I told Tony Bergman, I said, oh my God, Tony, you saved that old man's life by going back. He says, no, I didn't. Jerry Smith saved his life about 15 years ago. That's how things pay forward. Now, before we go, one of the kids, well, I don't like to pick up hitchhikers. Don't pick up friggin' hitchhikers. That is not the moral of the story. Never, ever pick up a hitchhiker. This is what Jerry Smith regretted, and this is what I avoided. When I saw the kid, what was my first reaction? Oh, there's a person that needs some help. That was it. It just nothing really, I wasn't making myself do anything. Oh, look, there's a person that has bare feet. And you just know. As soon as I decided not to help him, whose fault did I have to make it? I had to make it his. You don't deserve my help. Have a nice walk. Wait a minute, I wasn't blaming you for nothing until I decided to betray myself. That's what Jerry Smith said. That's what his sin, one of his sin was. I was drawn to you, and when I didn't do what I was drawn to do, I made it your fault. So when I'm backing into my parking spot, remember I told you that I was backing in and I stopped? This is what I was thinking. I thought about the story Jerry Smith told me. I said, you know why you're not picking that kid up and giving him a ride? Because you're not really as good a person as you like to think you are. You have a friggin' gun on. You got a badge, a radio, you're a cop. You're a lieutenant. You don't actually do any work. So you got plenty of time, right? Why can't you go pick that kid up and give him a ride? You're drawn to him. At that point, I was all like, well, I actually have to go back now because I can't be the person that I just accused myself of being. And that's why I went back. So that's the moral of that story. If you like that moral, the story is completely true. But the moral, the blame thing, directly out of those two books. So I highly, highly recommend the Leadership and Self-Deception book and the Anatomy of Peace that are in your notes because very profound storytelling books, really interesting, and they kind of give you a good handle on how blame works in our life, how we need blame, and how other people need blame, and how belief systems work. Okay? That's my hour, folks, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a great day. I think that was my hour. Yeah, okay, good.